What if the key to unshakable peace isn't hidden in the chatter of the world, but in the quiet whispers of your own soul? Imagine a life where joy doesn't depend on others, but blooms from the stillness within you. As the great Buddha taught, peace comes from within, do not seek it without. Picture yourself sitting by a serene lake in the early morning, the water so still it mirrors the sky, reflecting a calm you've longed to feel inside. In a world that pulls us outward, the greatest treasure often lies in turning inward. At Daily Buddhist, we believe solitude isn't loneliness. It's a sacred space to rediscover your truest self. Today, we'll uncover 7 transformative lessons on the joy of being with yourself. Lessons that can shift your energy and awaken a strength you never knew you had. Before we begin, take a deep breath and ask yourself, when was the last time I truly listened to my own heart? Let's dive into this journey together, exploring how solitude can become your greatest ally in finding inner peace. In a society that urges us to always be surrounded by others, we often overlook the profound value of choosing solitude over meaningless connections. Buddhism teaches us to be discerning with our company, favoring solitude over relationships that drain our spirit. When you embrace solitude, you step away from the influence of negative or foolish companions, creating a sanctuary for mental and spiritual growth. True wisdom emerges when you're no longer distracted by the chaos of unproductive interactions. Solitude fosters growth, while negative company only stifles it. In this sacred space, you can focus on what truly matters, allowing peace to take root in your heart. Consider Maya, a young woman from a bustling city like Seattle, who once spent her evenings in loud bars, surrounded by friends who gossiped endlessly. She felt drained, her mind clouded by their negativity. One evening, she chose to stay home, lighting a candle and sitting in silence. In that quiet, she felt a clarity she hadn't known in years, a peace that whispered, "You don't need this noise." This moment of solitude became a turning point for Maya. She began to see how the constant need to be around others stemmed from a fear of missing out, a fear that Buddhism teaches us to release through non-attachment. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of surrounding oneself with the wise, but when such company isn't available, solitude becomes the wiser choice. Maya's story reflects this teaching. She realized that the endless chatter of her social circle was like a storm, stirring up restlessness in her mind, while solitude was the calm after the storm, where her true thoughts could surface. This principle of discernment is deeply rooted in the Buddhist concept of sangha, or community, which emphasizes quality over quantity in relationships. Imagine a garden. If you plant flowers among weeds, the weeds will choke their growth. Similarly, negative company, those who gossip, criticize, or pull you into drama, acts like weeds, stifling your spiritual growth. Solitude, on the other hand, is like clearing the garden, giving your mind space to breathe and flourish. For Maya, this meant reevaluating her friendships. She began to distance herself from those who left her feeling empty and sought out moments of solitude instead. She started a daily practice of sitting by her window each morning, watching the sunrise while sipping tea, allowing her thoughts to settle like leaves in a still pond. This simple ritual became her sanctuary, a space where she could reflect on her values and aspirations without the distortion of others' opinions. Buddhism also teaches us that solitude isn't just about physical isolation. It's about cultivating an inner stillness, even in a crowded world. Maya learned to carry this stillness with her, even when she couldn't avoid social settings. She would take a moment to close her eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine herself back in that quiet space by her candle. This mindfulness practice helped her stay grounded, no matter the company she kept. Over time, she noticed a shift. Her need for external validation diminished, and she began to trust her own inner voice. She found herself drawn to new friends, those who shared her values of kindness and mindfulness, proving that solitude doesn't isolate you, it refines your connections. The beauty of choosing solitude over foolish company lies in its transformative power. It's a radical act of self-love, a declaration that your peace is worth protecting. When you step away from negativity, you create space for clarity to emerge, like the first rays of sunlight breaking through a foggy morning. In this space, you can ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What kind of life do I want to lead? For Maya, the answers came slowly but surely. She wanted a life of purpose, not popularity. Solitude became her teacher, guiding her toward a path of authenticity and inner peace, a path that Buddhism has illuminated for centuries. The more time you dedicate to yourself, the deeper you understand who you truly are. In solitude, free from the distractions of the outside world, you can reflect on your desires, strengths, and even your deepest fears. This journey of self-awareness is a cornerstone of Buddhist teachings, where knowing oneself leads to greater wisdom and inner peace. When you sit in solitude, whether meditating by a river or journaling in your room, you begin to uncover answers that have always resided within you. Every quiet moment is a step closer to clarity, revealing the authentic you beneath the noise of external influences. Think of Arjun, a software engineer from Bangalore, who felt lost amidst his demanding job and family expectations. One weekend, he retreated to a quiet hill station, leaving his phone behind. Sitting under a banyan tree, he meditated, asking himself, "What do I truly want?" In that stillness, he unraveled layers of conditioned beliefs, realizing his passion for teaching mindfulness to others. Arjun's experience mirrors the Buddhist practice of vipassana, or insight meditation, which encourages us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. In solitude, Arjun could see how his life had been shaped by others' expectations. His parents wanted him to climb the corporate ladder, his colleagues pushed him to compete, and society told him success meant wealth. But under that banyan tree, with the wind rustling through the leaves, he heard a quieter voice, his own. It told him that true success was living a life aligned with his values, not someone else's. This journey of self-discovery through solitude is like peeling an onion layer by layer. You uncover the core of who you are. Buddhism teaches that our minds are often clouded by the three poisons: ignorance, attachment, and aversion. In the noise of daily life, these poisons thrive, keeping us disconnected from our true selves. But in solitude, you create a space to confront them. Arjun, for example, realized he had been attached to the idea of being successful in society's eyes, and this attachment caused him stress and dissatisfaction. By sitting in stillness, he began to let go, practicing non-attachment as the Buddha taught. He started a daily meditation practice, spending 20 minutes each morning focusing on his breath, observing his thoughts as they came and went. This simple act helped him see his fears of failure, of disappointing others, for what they were: impermanent, like clouds passing through the sky. Solitude also allows you to reconnect with your body, a practice often overlooked in our fast-paced world. Arjun began to notice how his body felt during his time alone, how his shoulders relaxed, how his breath deepened, how his heart slowed. He incorporated mindful walking into his routine, taking slow steps through a nearby park, feeling the earth beneath his feet. This grounded him, reminding him of the Buddhist principle of mindfulness, to be fully present in each moment. Through these practices, Arjun discovered strengths he hadn't recognized before: his patience, his creativity, his ability to inspire others. He started a small mindfulness group at his workplace, sharing what he'd learned, and found joy in seeing others light up with the same clarity he'd found. The answers you seek are already within you, waiting to be uncovered through introspection. Solitude gives you the space to ask the big questions. Who am I beneath the roles I play? What brings me true joy? For Arjun, the answers led him to a new path. Teaching mindfulness became his calling, a way to serve others while honoring his true self. Every moment you spend alone is an opportunity to deepen this self-awareness, to peel back another layer, to step closer to the wisdom that Buddhism promises. It's a journey worth taking, one that leads to a profound understanding of your own heart. Many of us fear loneliness, but Buddhism reframes this fear as a gateway to growth. Being alone isn't something to dread. It's a chance to confront your inner self and emerge stronger. As you spend time alone, you learn to be comfortable in your own presence, realizing that you are complete just as you are. This practice builds emotional resilience, freeing you from the need for external validation. The fear of loneliness often stems from the misconception that we need others to complete us. But in solitude, you find that your true power lies within. It's a liberating realization that frees you from unhealthy attachments, allowing your inner strength to thrive. Take Priya, a schoolteacher from a small town in Kerala, who always feared being alone after a painful breakup. She associated solitude with abandonment, but one rainy afternoon, she decided to face that fear. She sat on her balcony watching the rain and let her emotions flow without judgment. Over time, she discovered a quiet strength, She didn't need others to feel whole. Priya's journey reflects the Buddhist teaching of anatta, or non-self, which reminds us that our sense of identity is often tied to external things, relationships, achievements, approval. When those things fall away, we fear we'll be left with nothing. But Buddhism teaches that this nothing is actually a spaciousness, a freedom to rediscover who we are beyond these attachments. For Priya, solitude became that spaciousness, a place where she could let go of her need for a partner to define her worth. Facing the fear of being alone is like standing at the edge of a cliff, feeling the wind against your face, and choosing to jump, not into danger but into trust. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from clinging, and for many of us, we cling to the presence of others to avoid facing ourselves. Priya had been clinging to the idea that she needed someone to feel complete, a belief that kept her trapped in cycles of dependency. In solitude, she began to practice mindfulness, sitting with her fear instead of running from it. She would light an incense stick, focus on its scent, and watch her thoughts as they arose. "I'm not enough on my own," her mind would say. But instead of believing this thought, she observed it, letting it pass like the raindrops on her balcony. This practice of non-attachment to her thoughts helped her see that her fear was impermanent. It didn't define her. Over the weeks, Priya incorporated more solitary activities into her life. She started gardening, planting marigolds in her small backyard, finding joy in the simple act of nurturing life. She also began writing poetry, pouring her emotions onto the page, discovering a creativity she hadn't known she possessed. These acts of self-connection taught her that being alone didn't mean being lonely. It meant being free. She no longer felt the need to fill her days with distractions or seek validation from others. Instead, she found validation in her own growth, in the way she could sit with her emotions and emerge stronger. This emotional resilience became her foundation, a steady ground she could return to no matter the circumstances. The liberation that comes from overcoming the fear of loneliness is profound. It's the realization that you are your own refuge, as the Buddha taught in the Dhammapada. You are your own master. You are your own refuge. Priya learned to be her own refuge, finding strength in her solitude that she carried into her relationships. She became more selective with her company, choosing friends who uplifted her rather than drained her. Solitude taught her that she didn't need others to complete her. She was already whole. This inner strength allowed her to face life's challenges with a newfound courage, knowing that no matter what, she had herself to rely on. Solitude creates a sacred space where self-discovery can flourish. Without the noise of others' opinions, you can tune into your own thoughts and feelings, exploring your true potential. Buddhism views solitude as a gateway to understanding your deeper nature, free from the clutter of external expectations. In this quiet space, you can realign with your values, recalibrate your goals, and uncover passions buried beneath the busyness of life. Solitude opens the door to self-acceptance, and in that acceptance, you find the freedom to be your truest self, a journey that leads to profound inner peace. Imagine Rohan, an artist from Mumbai, who felt trapped by societal pressure to pursue a stable career. One summer, he rented a cabin in the Himalayas, spending days painting in solitude. Away from the city's expectations, he rediscovered his love for abstract art, creating pieces that reflected his soul. Rohan's retreat into solitude mirrors the Buddha's own journey. He too sought solitude under the Bodhi tree to uncover the truth of existence. In the stillness of the mountains, Rohan found a similar truth. His passion for art wasn't just a hobby, it was his calling. The absence of external voices allowed him to hear his own, a voice that had been drowned out by the expectations of his family and society. He realized he'd been living someone else's dream, not his own, and solitude gave him the courage to change that. This process of self-discovery in solitude is like diving into a deep, clear lake. At first, the surface may be murky, stirred by the ripples of daily life, work, relationships, responsibilities. But as you dive deeper, the water becomes still, revealing treasures hidden beneath. For Rohan, those treasures were his creativity, his sensitivity, his unique way of seeing the world. He began to paint every morning, watching the sunrise over the Himalayan peaks, letting the colors of the sky inspire his brushstrokes. He also started a gratitude practice, writing down 3 things each day that brought him joy. Often, they were simple moments, like the sound of a bird singing or the feel of the cool mountain air. This practice, rooted in Buddhist mindfulness, helped him appreciate the beauty of his own inner world. Solitude also allowed Rohan to confront his fears. He had always worried that pursuing art full-time would lead to failure, that he wouldn't be able to support himself. But in the quiet of his cabin, he began to question this fear. Was it his own, or had it been planted by others? Through journaling, he explored this question, writing pages about his dreams, his doubts, and his aspirations. He realized that his fear of failure was tied to societal definitions of success: money, status, stability. But in solitude, he redefined success for himself. It meant living authentically, creating art that moved people, sharing his vision with the world. This shift in perspective, inspired by the Buddhist teaching of impermanence, reminded him that external measures of success are fleeting. What matters is the joy of the present moment. The freedom that comes from self-discovery in solitude is transformative. It's the freedom to be unapologetically yourself, to pursue what sets your soul on fire, to live a life aligned with your deepest values. For Rohan, this meant leaving his corporate job and dedicating himself to art. He started small, selling his paintings at local markets, but over time, his work gained recognition. More importantly, he found a peace he'd never known, a peace that came from living in alignment with his true self. Solitude had opened the door to this new life, proving that the greatest discoveries often happen in the quiet moments we give ourselves. Buddhism places immense value on self-reliance, teaching that you are responsible for your own well-being, happiness, and progress. When you spend time in solitude, away from distractions, you realize you're capable of handling life's challenges on your own. This realization is empowering. It shows you don't need to depend on others for support or validation all the time. The less you depend on the outside world for security or happiness, the more peace you find within. Independence doesn't mean isolation. It means knowing your ultimate strength comes from within, equipping you to face life's ups and downs with confidence. Consider Anjali, a single mother from Chennai, who felt overwhelmed after her divorce. She began taking evening walks alone in a nearby park, reflecting on her challenges. One day, she solved a financial issue on her own, realizing, "I can do this." Anjali's story reflects the Buddhist principle of atapa, or self-effort, which emphasizes taking responsibility for your own path. After her divorce, Anjali had relied heavily on her family for support, but she often felt like a burden. In solitude, she began to see that she had the strength to stand on her own. During her walks, she would sit on a bench by a lotus pond, watching the flowers bloom despite the muddy water. This became a metaphor for her own life. She too could bloom amidst challenges, as long as she trusted herself. Building independence through solitude is like forging a sword in a fire. It takes time, heat, and pressure, but the result is a blade that can withstand anything. For Anjali, the fire was the challenges she faced as a single mother, managing finances, raising her son, and dealing with societal judgment. In her moments of solitude, she began to practice mindfulness, focusing on her breath to calm her racing mind. She also started a gratitude journal, writing down small victories each day, like the time she negotiated a better deal with a vendor, or the day her son hugged her and said, "You're the best mom." These practices helped her see her own resilience, a resilience that Buddhism teaches is inherent in all of us. The Buddha himself relied on his own efforts to attain enlightenment, sitting alone under the Bodhi tree, determined to find the truth. Anjali's journey of self-reliance also taught her to trust her intuition. She had always second-guessed herself, seeking advice from others on every decision, but in solitude, she began to listen to her inner voice. One evening, as she walked through the park, she faced a dilemma. Her son's school fees were due, and she didn't have enough money. Instead of panicking or calling her brother for help, she sat by the pond, closed her eyes, and breathed deeply. In that stillness, a solution came to her. She could sell some handmade jewelry she'd been crafting as a hobby. The next day, she set up a small stall at a local market and made enough to cover the fees. This moment was a turning point. Anjali realized she had the wisdom and resourcefulness to solve her own problems. The peace that comes from independence is profound. It's the peace of knowing that, no matter what life throws at you, you have the inner strength to handle it. Anjali began to see challenges not as burdens, but as opportunities to grow. She started a small business selling her jewelry, finding joy in her creativity and financial independence. Her confidence grew, and she became a role model for her son, showing him the power of self-reliance. Solitude had taught her that she didn't need to lean on others to feel secure. She had everything she needed within her. This inner strength, cultivated through quiet moments of reflection, became her greatest asset, a testament to the Buddhist teaching that true liberation comes from within. One of the most profound lessons in Buddhism is that you are enough just as you are. In a world that pushes us to seek validation through social approval or material success, self-companionship teaches you to be your own best friend, your own source of love, and your own wellspring of happiness. Through solitude, you learn to accept your imperfections, strengths, and uniqueness, knowing you don't need external validation to feel worthy. This self-acceptance is liberating, freeing you from the pressure of others' expectations. Self-companionship also means treating yourself with kindness, offering yourself the same compassion you'd give a dear friend. Reflect on Kiran, a college student from Delhi, who struggled with self-doubt after failing an exam. Instead of seeking comfort from friends, he spent a weekend alone, writing in a journal and taking long walks in a nearby garden. He began to see his failure not as a reflection of his worth, but as a lesson in growth. Kiran's experience embodies the Buddhist practice of metta, or loving kindness, which begins with offering compassion to oneself. In his journal, Kiran wrote letters to himself, words of encouragement he wished he'd heard from others. "You're doing your best, and that's enough." This act of self-compassion helped him heal, reminding him that he didn't need external praise to feel good about himself. He was enough just as he was. Self-companionship is like building a home within yourself, a place of warmth, safety, and acceptance. For Kiran, this home was his garden, where he could sit under a neem tree and listen to the birds, feeling a peace that didn't depend on anyone else. He began to explore new hobbies in his solitude, like photography, capturing the beauty of the flowers and the play of light through the leaves. These moments of joy taught him that happiness wasn't something to chase. It was something to cultivate within. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from craving, and for many of us, we crave approval, love, or success to feel complete. But in solitude, Kiran learned to let go of this craving, practicing non-attachment to the opinions of others. He realized his worth wasn't tied to his grades or what his peers thought. It was inherent, a truth as steady as the earth beneath his feet. This journey of self-companionship also involves facing your inner critic. Kiran had always been hard on himself, replaying his mistakes in his mind like a broken record. But in solitude, he began to practice mindfulness, observing his thoughts without judgment. When his inner critic said, "You're a failure," he would respond with kindness, "I'm learning, and that's okay." This shift in perspective, inspired by the Buddhist teaching of impermanence, helped him see that his mistakes were temporary. They didn't define him. Over time, he grew more comfortable in his own skin, finding joy in simple acts like brewing a cup of chai and watching the steam rise, or meditating at dawn as the city woke up around him. These moments became sacred, a reminder that he was his own best companion. The freedom that comes from self-companionship is transformative. It's the freedom to enjoy your own company, to find peace in the quiet moments, to know that you are enough, no matter what. Kiran began to carry this peace with him, even in social settings. He no longer felt the need to prove himself to others. He could simply be himself, authentic and unapologetic. This inner confidence radiated outward, drawing people to him not because he sought their approval, but because he was at peace with who he was. Solitude had taught him that true happiness comes from within, a lesson that became his anchor through life's storms. In a world that pressures us to conform to societal norms, Buddhism encourages us to celebrate our individuality. Being an individual means embracing who you are without feeling the need to fit into society's molds. Your uniqueness is your strength, not something to hide. In solitude, you can hear your own thoughts clearly, understanding what truly matters to you. This self-reflection helps you see yourself as an individual, separate from societal labels. Valuing your individuality means accepting that you're not meant to be like everyone else, and that's okay. You're meant to follow your own path, make your own choices, and live a life aligned with your truth. Take Vikram, a musician from Jaipur, who was told his fusion of classical and modern music wouldn't sell. During a month-long retreat in a quiet village, he reconnected with his authentic self, composing pieces that reflected his true vision. Vikram's story reflects the Buddhist teaching of svabhava, or inherent nature, which reminds us that each of us has a unique essence that deserves to be honored. In the village, surrounded by fields of mustard flowers, Vikram would sit with his sitar at sunrise, letting the notes flow freely. Away from the expectations of the music industry, he realized that his fusion style wasn't a flaw, it was his gift. Solitude gave him the space to embrace this gift, to see his individuality as a source of strength rather than a liability. Celebrating your individuality is like planting a rare flower in a garden of uniformity. It stands out, not because it tries to, but because it's true to itself. For Vikram, this meant letting go of the need to conform to commercial trends. He began to explore the roots of his music, studying ancient ragas and blending them with modern beats in a way that felt authentic to him. He also started a mindfulness practice, meditating each morning to connect with his inner voice. This practice helped him tune out the noise of societal expectations, allowing him to hear his own desires more clearly. He realized that his music wasn't just about success. It was about expression, about sharing his unique perspective with the world. Solitude also gave Vikram the courage to stand firm in his individuality, even when faced with criticism. When he returned to Jaipur and shared his new compositions, some scoffed, saying his music was too experimental. But Vikram didn't waver. He remembered the Buddhist teaching of the middle way, balancing confidence in his path with openness to growth. He listened to feedback, but he didn't let it define him. Instead, he kept creating, performing at small venues where his music resonated with those who appreciated its uniqueness. Over time, his authenticity drew a loyal audience, proving that when you honor your individuality, you attract those who value you for who you are. The power of being an individual lies in its ability to set you free. When you embrace your uniqueness, you no longer feel the need to compare yourself to others or seek their approval. Vikram found this freedom in his music, but also in his life. He stopped trying to fit into society's mold of what a successful musician should be, and instead created a life that felt meaningful to him. He began teaching music to children in his community, sharing his love for fusion and encouraging them to find their own voices. This act of giving back, inspired by the Buddhist principle of dana, generosity, brought him a deep sense of fulfillment. By valuing his individuality, Vikram not only found peace for himself, he became a light for others, showing them the beauty of being true to who they are. If you've ever used mindfulness to find calm in chaos, type 1 in the comments. If you're just starting your mindfulness journey, type 2. You're in the right place. And don't let this moment of clarity slip away. Subscribe now to begin your journey into mindful awareness with Daily Buddhist. The joy of enjoying your own company is one of the greatest gifts Buddhism offers. When you learn to cherish time alone, solitude transforms into a sanctuary for growth, calm, and deep happiness. Reflect on the journey we've taken together. 7 lessons that guide you back to yourself, to the unshakable peace that has always been within you. Whether you're like Maya, finding clarity by stepping away from negativity, or like Vikram, rediscovering your unique voice, solitude is a sacred space where you can reconnect with your truest self. Buddhism teaches us that the path to enlightenment begins with being true to ourselves, living in harmony with our own nature. Each moment you spend in solitude is a step toward that harmony, a chance to listen to the whispers of your soul, to uncover the wisdom that lies beneath the surface. Think back to a time when you felt truly at peace. Perhaps it was a quiet morning walk in a forest, the scent of pine filling the air, or a moment of stillness as you watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Those moments remind us that peace isn't something we chase. It's something we cultivate within. As you move forward, carry this truth with you. You are enough just as you are. The world may pull you outward, but the strength you've discovered in solitude will be your anchor. Start small. Set aside 10 minutes today to sit in silence, to breathe deeply, to listen to your heart. Notice the thoughts that arise, the emotions that surface, and let them pass like clouds in the sky. This simple act of mindfulness can be the beginning of a profound transformation. Your journey toward peace begins now, and Daily Buddhist is here to guide you every step of the way. If this message has resonated with you, take a moment to share it with someone who might need a reminder of their own inner strength. And tell us in the comments, what's one way you'll embrace solitude this week? Your story could inspire someone else to take that first step. Solitude isn't just a practice, it's a way of being. It's the courage to stand in your truth, to value your individuality, to trust that the answers you seek are already within you. Imagine a life where you no longer feel the need to seek validation, where you're free from the weight of societal expectations, where you can face any challenge with a calm and steady heart. That life is possible, and it starts with the simple act of being with yourself. The beauty of this journey is that it's uniquely yours. No two paths are the same, and that's what makes your story so powerful. By embracing solitude, you not only find peace for yourself, you become a light for others, showing them the beauty of authenticity and self-compassion. In a world that often encourages conformity, your individuality is a gift. Celebrate it, nurture it, and let it shine. Peace is not found by seeking, but by pausing, breathing, and embracing the present. Click subscribe now. Your path to inner peace starts here with Daily Buddhist. And before you go, share your thoughts. Have you experienced moments of unexpected calm or insight? Share your story in the comments. Your journey could inspire someone else. Let's build a community of mindfulness and compassion, one story at a time.